Chapter 13, You Don't Have to Be Young. Transplant has come a very long way in the last decade. It used to be that after a certain age, you were too old for a transplant. Now transplants are saving the lives of many seniors. I hate the term seniors, but it does actually make the point. Those who in the past would have not been able to see their children get married or watch their grandchildren grow up are now being given the gift of life. Sometimes the possibility of enjoying those cherished moments turns into a real reason to live. These adults can get a new heart that is still strong and add precious years and memories to their lives. Christine is an older woman who had struggled with cardiomyopathy for years before it got to the point of heart failure and the need for a transplant. We met her and her husband the day before her release from the hospital after transplant. She had received her new heart so quickly that they hadn't had the time to fundraise for post-transplant housing. She'd been sick for so long that both their finances and they themselves were completely exhausted. She and her husband had nowhere to go, near enough to the transplant center since their apartment was hours and hours away. Once Christine and her husband understood that we were there in that hospital room that day to give her a grant for post-transplant housing, she broke down into heavy tears of relief and gratitude. Within days of her transplant, Christine was already feeling better than she had in decades. She couldn't believe how good she felt and how much energy she had. And though she was still recuperating, she had a sunny smile and a brightness about her and was keeping busy during her recovery by making beautiful jewelry and enjoying her husband and her dog. Unfortunately, as is possible with any transplant patient, sometimes the body can't recover. Don and his wife Sue were from Idaho. Don was over 60 when they moved to Southern California for Don to get a new heart. As it turned out, he needed a new liver, too, which complicated things. When I met them, Don was in the hospital and Sue was sleeping in her car. She had been in California for months and their money was almost gone. They had 2 grown children who had families of their own and would fly back and forth helping as much as possible. Sue was on leave from her work. They had created a fundraiser for Don, but the money they raised just wasn't enough. The financial stress took a great toll on this couple. They had been married forever and were still in love. They were best friends, lovers, parents, and grandparents. They were like one. I had wished what they had to everyone, so honest and real. Ava's Heart was able to make their transplant journey a bit easier by promising post-transplant housing for them. We got the transplant housing early so that Sue was able to go and stay there and still visit Don in the hospital. However, while still in the hospital, Don began having trouble with his liver transplant, although his new heart was doing great. I'm sad to say that he never made it to the hotel we provided. Their transplant journey ended in Don's death from liver failure. Sometimes the journey does not get the results we hope for. Sometimes. Sue and I are still in touch, and a few weeks after Don's death, his granddaughter was born. We have helped many gold, much better than the word senior, men and women who have gone on to enjoy life with family and friends, who give back every day in some small way and who enrich the world with their wisdom.